And that way, when old age comes, as it will, if we live that long, then we will not grieve and say, oh, there's so many things I missed. No. We'll say, oh, I have attained the purpose of human life. My life is a success. Isn't that great? So I'm ready to go. Come on, let's get on with it. It's an adventure. But, as the next verse says, even if you think the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament. That's verse 226. If you think, like the Buddhists, that the soul is born along with the body and dies along with the body, and that that individual person will never exist again, even if you think like that, there's still no reason to lament. There's still no reason to be sorry. Why? Because all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Krishna says in the next verse. This is just the way it is. If we look at anything in the world, any living creature, or even a non-living object, let's say a clock. At one point, the materials that are now the clock were in the ground as minerals, or if it's plastic, oil. And someone had to extract this material from the ground and process it, turn it into metal parts or electronics or what have you, depending on how the clock is made, and get it all to work right somehow or other. And finally, then they had to ship it to the store where you walked in and bought it, took it home. And someday, thousands of years from now, perhaps archaeologists will discover the ruins of your house, and there will be this clock. And they'll go, what the heck was that? And then thousands and millions of years later on, all that material will be crushed beneath the sea. And as the tectonic plates move around the globe, it'll become recycled again into sand and into other things. This is the material world, people. It grinds everything down. It's like a gigantic mix master. It's always in motion. Never stops for a second. Some of these motions are very slow and very difficult to perceive, but they're certainly there. And we have to acknowledge them. That is the nature of the material world. Things are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. But the state of manifestation is only temporary. It's an interim state. It's just a passing thing. This body is created at a certain point in time. It exists for a while, gradually withers away and dies, and that's the end of it. Then it gets turned back into its original materials. And again, the cycle goes around and around in this material world. And that's the game here. There's nothing new under the sun. And those who are students of history are well aware. The things that we are going through now that we think are so wonderful and unique, they've all happened before. People are always complaining for the last thousands of years about how nasty their teenagers are, and there's nothing new under the sun. It's the same old thing here in the material world. So, what need is there for lamentation? If we lament about this, we're simply wasting our time and energy in something that's not going to produce any result. Lamentation. What is lamentation? It means grieving for what we have lost and lamenting for what we do not have. And this is a side effect of desire. Desire means I want something, but I don't have it. Okay? Either I've lost it or I haven't yet gained it. Either way, it's a form of lamentation. Boo-hoo, I don't have what I want. Well, so what? Is crying over it going to change anything? You see? It's really an unproductive waste of energy. So Krishna advises us, don't lament. Don't lament. Take action. And the action that he describes, as we'll see later on in our studies of Bhagavad-gītā at the appropriate time, that we should take action to realize the nature of the soul and the nature of the Supreme. As we said, the soul is something really amazing, really something wonderful, inconceivable to the human intelligence. So that means there's a higher intelligence. Well, what about this higher intelligence? Maybe we should investigate that. Maybe it would tell us something about ourselves if we were to understand this higher intelligence, this higher personality. So the form that our investigation will take is hearing from that personality as he has revealed himself in the different Vedic scriptures, such as Bhagavad-gītā. And finally, Krishna says, some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. He who dwells in the body is eternal and can never be slain. Therefore you need not grieve for any creature. So 2 verses, 228 and 229, describe the soul as amazing. And he's amazing because he's inconceivable. And notice the use of the word he. In other words, the soul is always a person. There is never a time when this person, the soul, merges with another person. For example, I have my consciousness, you have your consciousness. I can never know directly what's in your consciousness. If you let me know, if you reveal it, that's one thing. But I can never know. I may be able to guess if I'm very shrewd and have a lot of wisdom, but can never really know. So, two consciousnesses can never merge. Why? Because each consciousness, each soul, is individual and personal. And to merge the souls together would violate the personal boundaries between the individuals. This is God's law. So the whole idea of merging with another person or merging with God, this is completely impossible. I know some other people who teach spiritual knowledge say that this is what's going to happen when you become self-realized. But nobody can show an example of someone who's actually attained this. Therefore, we think that the ontological rules that govern the soul, according to our analysis, are that the soul is individual, unchangeable, immutable, just like Krishna says, can never be changed. So what's this idea of merging? That's not in any of the scriptures of the Vedas. And it's not in any of the bona fide interpretations either. Only some people say this. And we don't agree with that. Because the very next verse says, he who dwells in the body is eternal. So if he's eternal, how could he change by merging into another being? You see, this is illogical. Anyway, the soul can never be slain. We are eternal. We are immortal. Therefore, we need not grieve, either for ourselves or for others. Okay? This means the end of unhappiness, the end of grief, the end of lamentation over dying and death. It's simply a waste of time. So, please go on to check the review questions and post something for discussion. And we would appreciate that very much. Thank you. This is David Hughes, hoping you've enjoyed this installment of Your Perfect Body, our podcast from the Esoteric Teaching. Please join us again and benefit from these spiritual teachings that help you attain your real perfect body. And don't forget to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org.